Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Black Media Review, where I talk about Black film, TV, art, just anything that can represent the culture. If you're new to this channel, then make sure to hit that subscribe button. But if you've been here before, then you already know what it is, and you need to go ahead and like this video, comment, and share it with your friends. So let's just get right into this. Last time we broke down Molly and how her love language was actively affecting how she interacted with other people and how to properly use her love language. And we also talked about some of the pitfalls and the issues, and then made some predictions about what could possibly happen with her going forward into the new seasons. But this week we are talking about your girl Issa. Oh Lord, Issa. My girl, but you definitely got some growing to do. So I want to break down her story starting from season 1 and how we got to where we are in season 4. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so here's my question. How do you embrace an act of service love language without coming off as a user or somebody who's always very needy? I think that's kind of the issue that Issa finds herself in throughout this whole series so far. Issa is our main character, so we spend the most time with her and her storyline. Everything that happens kind of revolves around her. And I had a conversation with a friend not too long ago who made a statement saying that Issa is the one we see the least amount of development from. And at first I did agree with her until we got to the end of the season, and I realized we've been seeing Issa develop. It's just been a lot slower than everybody else. And the main reason for that is for the first 2 seasons, she was a passenger in her own story. She wasn't driving her car. She was just actively passing through life. Like, you didn't see her take charge in anything. She wouldn't tell Lawrence how she felt, even though she had been with this person for 5 years and she was not happy. She wouldn't mention it. She wouldn't actively look for a new job or a career change, even though she was clearly unhappy in her job. You can even see that when it comes to the principal at the school and how he didn't want to take the time to have the Latino kids come into the program. She didn't speak up about that, and she actually put the company she worked for in jeopardy just because she was so afraid to be confrontational. Now, we do see Issa sometimes show a bit of aggression, but usually, like especially in the first couple seasons, it's only towards Molly. And I think that has a significance because they've been friends so long, and sometimes our friends are the only people we feel like we can be open and honest with. So you'll see her you'll see Issa tell Molly she needs therapy. You'll see Issa make a song about a private conversation that her and Molly had. You'll see Issa do all of these things when it comes to Molly. But when it comes to other people in her life that she really needs to stay in charge and take, action with, she's very, very passive. And that's what stunted her growth, at least for the first 2 seasons. Now, what we don't see from her when it comes to Molly is her being honest and open about how certain things Molly says make her feel. Because then she has to have a real conversation and it becomes a little bit more confrontational. Even though you'll see her call Molly out for little things that she's done, she only does it in a scenario where I feel like she feels Molly won't say anything back or won't have a necessary rebuttal. But if it's a real conversation that they need to have, that's where you see Issa just kind of run off and hide. Like, all throughout this season, Molly actually wanted to have that conversation or any conversation with Issa, and Issa just hid from her. It was one thing to throw jabs at her, but to be real, Issa isn't there with that yet. Now, I will say this. Issa is a bit of a user. But to be fair, a lot of the people in her life, they enable her and they allow her to be that type of person. They don't challenge her. They don't tell her no. Like, I talked about this a little bit in the Molly video, because Molly likes quality time. She's willing to do things for Issa in order to get her quality time from her. And a lot of her friends are like that. A lot of her friends are willing to support her and protect her and guide her. And because of that, she's refusing to grow. She's refusing to do anything significant with her life, with her dreams, with her goals. And if you haven't seen that video about my character study for Molly, I need you to go ahead and check that out because it is deep, it is good, and I like it. So if I like it, hopefully you like it. Now, like I mentioned earlier, Issa's love language is act of service. And if you don't really know all the whole definition of that love language, basically that is someone who likes it when people show their love and appreciation for them by doing things for them, like doing the chores for them, or doing a task that you know that they're dragging their feet about, or just being there for them when you need them, as far as being supportive. So we see that a lot in the show, like when Issa is setting up for this block party. She has Kelly helping her at the bar. She has Tiffany helping her connect with people so she can get her liquor for the block party. She asks every single one of her friends, her brother was the DJ, to help her in this process. She's an act of service type of person, which is not a problem in itself. There's nothing wrong with that being your love language, but the problem comes when you're constantly asking people to do things for you, to show their support and their service to you, and you can't give it back. For a good example of this was when Issa called Molly about the artist for the block party when her artist dropped out. Instead of sitting there with Molly and being a friend with Molly, she jumped right into asking her for a favor. She jumped right into asking for support. And you can see the heartbreak in Molly's face as she wanted to be able to sit and talk with her friend. And she couldn't get that. She couldn't get the quality time that she desperately needed because Issa was too busy worried about how Molly can support her in that time. And that's what makes her come off as kind of a user, and makes it hard for you to root for her at first. But you do see that growth in Issa as the season continues, because when Molly does confront her about this, when they do have that big blow up at the block party and she is confronted about it, you actively see Issa trying her best not to come off as a user. And literally from that episode on, somebody wanted something from her. She stopped whatever she was doing to be there for them, because that's not the image she wanted. That's just her love language. But because, like I said, so many people enabled her and gave her whatever she needed, made her their priority, she didn't know that it was coming off, that she was just asking for things and using people. She just thought that was something, that was the way the relationship went. Like, that was just how everything goes. And now she's got to actually look at herself and say, wow, am I always the one asking for favors? Am I always the one asking for support? And you see her questioning that and trying to actively change it. That's why I say she didn't, it's not that she didn't have any growth. It's just that for so long she was a passenger, and then for so long everybody was helping her and doing everything for her, that she never was confronted with her own growth and development. So now we see her confronted with it, and we see her being aware of it. Now, there is a channel that I always like to watch called The Take. It's the YouTube channel, and they do really good character analysis or trope analysis. And one of the tropes that they broke down was the idea of the woman child. And they did lump Issa into that trope, and she fits it perfectly. Issa is somebody who kind of isn't ready to grow up. She kind of isn't ready to be responsible yet. And when you look at all her other friends, you truly see that. She stayed in her job that she got right out of college for the longest. She didn't look to move up. She didn't look to make any changes. She had to be moving back and forth between all these different apartments, while all her other friends have been stable in their homes. Even someone like Kelly, who is as wild and crazy as she is, has a sense of stability in adulthood that Issa just does not display. Now, in the last video, I did mention, at times I have been the Molly of my life, but more often than not, I have been the Issa in my life, where I have been a passenger in my own world, and I based everything on the people around me and what they were doing. And that's what Issa did. She was, like I said, the passenger, and I've been the passenger. I've allowed myself to take a back seat, put everybody else before me, or not even focus on me at all, because I don't want to grow up or change or make anything significantly different. There's been times where I'm like, dude, am I even really an adult? I don't feel like an adult, but it's not because I don't do grown-up-ish things. It's that I don't push myself past a certain point of, adulthood. And because I don't have to, it's easier to fall back and just do what feels comfortable. That's what we see Issa do. We see her fall back and do what feels comfortable because she doesn't have to do anything more. So we really start to see change in Issa by season 3. So from the middle to the end of season 3, when she finally moves out of Daniel's house and she gets that job as a property manager so that she can start living on her own, or when she drives Lyft and, do whatever she needs to make money. And then when we start to see her with this block party and building all of that up, that's when we start seeing development from Issa. But it took from the middle of season 3 to the end of season 4 for that growth. So that's why so many people think she hasn't really developed, but she has. We also see her take more active charge in her relationships, because in the end of season 3 we see her take her stand with Nathan and not just let him come back in her life. And she shows aggression in that moment and lets him know, I don't want this right now. She says, I'll think about it or whatever. And she walks away and she focuses in on herself. That's when we see her finally get her apartment and everything back together. And then with Lawrence in this last season, in season 4, when they had their beautiful episode, she goes for what she wants in that relationship in that moment. Instead of just walking out and being passive, she actively says, I want to stay here with you. She asks the question. Now, granted, he could have said no thank you and told her to leave, but at least she took the initiative to speak up on it and to do the thing, to let it be known what she wanted. So you do see her begin to be more active in her life. She's the first one, again, to call Molly to try to fix it. Now, granted, she didn't bring the conversation up like she should have, but at least she took the step to bring Molly into the same room with her so that they can start doing something. So you do see her taking a more active and aggressive role. So what can we learn from Issa? I think one of the most important lessons that Issa teaches us is that there's no certain age or time frame when you have to have it all together. Not everybody develops on the same playing field. And like I said, she's the character I identify the most with because, not only just her awkwardness, because Lord, I swear we share that too, but also because it took her longer than some of her other friends to really take that step into what it means to be an adult and to be responsible for your own dreams and goals and ambition. So we can learn that it can take some people more time to really grow into the person that they want to be, and that's okay. There's no rush. There's no reason why Issa has to be at a certain level at a certain time because everybody else is. Molly is a successful attorney. Kelly is a realtor. I don't actually know what Tiffany does, but it's in a big fancy office, so she does something that's major, and she's a wife and now a mother. Being like someone like Issa, you start to feel like, hey, I'm not doing enough. And that can be something that stunts your growth too, because it might take you a little longer to figure out exactly what you want. There's no time frame to it. And I think that's what Issa needed to learn and figure out about herself. She needed to focus more on what she wanted to do and not comparing what everybody else is doing around her. So that's one thing I know we can learn from Issa. Another thing is getting out of the passenger seat and driving the car. It is so easy to be passive in your life and just to let things happen around you than to speak up and decide that, hey, you know what? If I want certain things to happen, I'm going to have to make them happen. Not too long ago, I had a conversation with a friend who she says a lot of people tell her that she's lucky. But the truth of the matter is, it's not so much that she's lucky. It's the fact that when she sees something she wants, she goes for it. She takes action and actively makes whatever she wants happen. So it's not that she's lucky. It's that she's not the passenger in her car. She is the driver. And that's what we can learn from Issa, is that it's not about just being there. It's about being present. So my prediction for Issa is in the next couple of seasons, I definitely know we're going to see a lot of growth from her. But I think we're going to see some bumps along the way, even with that growth. I honestly believe she's going to try to make it work with Lawrence even for a little bit. But I don't think she's mature enough to handle the type of situation he's going to come with now. And I think we're going to see a real destruction of that relationship over time. I also feel like at some point she might start messing around with Nathan again. But again, I don't feel like that's going to be the right move for her, because she would literally only be doing it because she couldn't have Lawrence, who is the person she wanted to be with. And I just don't see success in that. Don't get me wrong, Nathan and Issa had a good relationship when they first met and they first started out. But since then, she's built a whole nother relationship with somebody she actually really wanted to stay with in the first place. So I don't know that we're going to see like this really deep love between her and Nathan. It's going to be more of a rebound thing. I do see her possibly repairing her relationship with Molly. It is going to take some doing. It's not going to be an easy fix, but ending on that conversation in season 4, I think is definitely going to play into season 5 and going forward, because these are two people that do genuinely love each other, do genuinely want to see each other do well, but they have some growth that they need to do in life. And I think we're really going to see them learning how to be better people to themselves and to each other. But what do you guys think? Do you want to see Lawrence and Issa end up together? Do you want to see her with Nathan? What are your predictions on what will happen to Issa going forward? And are you an Issa? Or do you know an Issa? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you, beautiful people, for joining me for another video, and I will see you next video.
But we had a conversation.
I know, and I didn't involve you.
Yeah, but you still got my man to do you a favor.
And it all worked out, right?
That's not the point, Issa.